Patriots Day in Boston is a big celebration. It's an exciting day. There's a lot of energy in the city, and a lot of people come into town to watch the race. There were 864 police officers from the Boston Police Department assigned to the event, along with other officers from the Massachusetts State Police, the MBTA Police. We were augmented by a lot of our partners. Security was tight, and I saw a great celebration. I also had a chance to talk to a couple of the undercover officers that were in the crowd, and they were reporting no difficulty, no problems. It looked like it was going to be a standard but lovely afternoon. I had been sitting directly across from the first explosion with my wife. I left to take a phone call, conference call with the White House, and then when the bombs exploded, I was at my home finishing up the conference call. I got a call from the Chief of Department, Dan Linsky, who told me what was transpiring at the scene. Dan called on the phone and said, "Boss, there were 2 explosions near the finish line of the Boston Marathon. I'm en route up there right now." He was about a half mile away. In the background, he could hear our officers yelling for help on the radios. And very quickly in the conversation, Dan said that one of our sergeants had requested all the ambulances that we could get, and he said that there were multiple amputations. 2 explosions in close proximity to each other in time and distance. All of those things made me believe that it was most likely a planned terrorist attack.
Most of the injuries are to the lower extremities.
When I first got to Ring Road, I exited the vehicle and walked across Boylston Street. And I saw a tragic scene. There were 2 bodies at the scene, Lindsay Lou and Martin Richard, the young boy who was killed. There was a significant volume of blood on the ground. There was clearly an explosion that had occurred, significant damage to humans and to property in that particular place. I could also feel shrapnel underneath my feet. I could tell that the bomb had been designed to hurt and maim people. The human toll was terrible, and it was a very difficult scene to see. It was a battlefield scene. It looked like scenes that I had first been advised of in looking at bombings that occurred in the Middle East. We are all trained on this type of a threat, and some of the video and still photos I've seen from those bombing sites were identical to what I was seeing in Boston. The first thing that needed to be done was the clearing of packages that had been abandoned at the scene. We didn't know if there were other explosives. Removal of the victims, securing of the scene, and almost immediately we gave orders to one of our lieutenants to start to download video from the area. When I was at the scene earlier in the day, before the bombs exploded, I saw an enormous number of photos being taken. Hundreds of hours of video that had to be looked at. You know, focusing in on the cameras that were closest to the event was helpful, and ultimately, a couple of days later, we were able to come up with suspect's image. When Dan called, I could hear the radio crackling in the background, and you could hear that there was a gunfight going on. You know, I realized that these were most likely our suspects from the bombing based upon the information that they were throwing bombs at police officers, not something that we normally see in American policing. So I responded immediately to the scene. What struck me first was the fact that they had not fled. I really believed that they had probably committed the act and fled the jurisdiction to a different country. I didn't expect that they would stay around. I was happy that we were on them and most likely going to capture them. Well, Officer Collier really was the first line of defense against 2 individuals who had not only killed and maimed hundreds of people, but were intent upon continuing their rampage. And so Officer Collier played an enormous role in protecting the students at MIT and the community at large. He really is a hero. It really went on through the night. When we first got there, there were a significant amount of officers on scene. But during the course of the day, as you can imagine, people were very upset and fearful. We were all warning people to stay inside, to shelter in place in their homes, and not to open the doors to anyone that might knock on it, because there was an armed and dangerous suspect in the immediate area. He managed to get through the lines and get to a second place. SWAT teams go in and check, but it is possible to move from one place to another and to elude the pursuit, and that's exactly what happened. Well, around 7 o'clock, there was a call from a homeowner that there was suspicious activity in the boat. We responded to the scene. Something happened that prompted an officer to fire his weapon. It was a short, intense volley of gunfire that happened very quickly, but with multiple rounds fired.
Some 20 to 30 shots fired just a short time ago, some 1 hour ago.
We had the suspect pinned down. He was not going to get away. We called the hostage rescue team in from the FBI, and they coordinated the activities around trying to prod the suspect out of the boat. And then towards the end of that period of time where they were trying different tactics to get the suspect to surrender, several members of a SWAT team led by the MBTA came in and took the suspect into custody. Well, I was relieved. In 102 hours, we were able to capture both suspects that were responsible for this terrible attack on our city and on our people. Tragically, we lost an officer and then almost lost a second officer in the incidents that happened. But these guys were intent on doing more damage, and they didn't get an opportunity to do that. This whole Boston strong mentality really played itself out among the law enforcement agencies, but most importantly among the community. The community was there to help us every step of the way, and if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have caught this guy.